Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for April 12th. On this day in 1961, humanity took to the stars for the very first time. Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human being in space, launching into orbit in his Vostok spacecraft. He performed a single orbit around the Earth, with the entire mission lasting just under 2 hours from takeoff to landing. This was obviously a very risky undertaking. Despite the fact that the Russians and Americans had already sent up test animals, no one was entirely certain how the human body would respond to being in space and what the effects of zero gravity might be. Thankfully, Yuri Gagarin returned without a scratch, and many humans have since followed him into space. Speaking of which, on April 12, 1981, NASA began shuttling people from place to place. The first space shuttle mission took off, with the Space Shuttle Columbia blasting off for her maiden voyage. The Space Shuttle program began a few years earlier with the test shuttle Enterprise, but Columbia was the first to actually go into space. The whole point of the space shuttles was to create a craft that could go into space, safely land, and then be sent back into space, with the only wasted components being the rocket boosters used at launch. The initial trial of Columbia was a success, and it was followed by 4 other space shuttles. Unfortunately, Columbia herself wasn't as lucky. The craft was destroyed in 2003 after a faulty heat shield caused it to burn up on re-entry, sadly killing all 7 astronauts on board. The space shuttle program continued until 2011. On April 12, 2005, game maker BioWare embarked on a new kind of adventure. They released their action RPG Jade Empire on the original Xbox, and the game marked several important firsts for the company. For starters, it was their first game developed primarily for a console and not a PC. It was also the first BioWare game not based on a pre-existing IP, which meant the creators had more freedom to craft their own universe, characters, and locations. Jade Empire also saw BioWare abandon the turn-based combat of previous games like Knights of the Old Republic and instead create a more fast-paced and action-centric real-time combat system. Many of the innovations of Jade Empire influenced BioWare on their next big project, Mass Effect, which followed 2 years later.